all I do. Loving you is all I do.
Welcome. It's man got a dots, and we are back, man. Hope everybody's having a very good week, man. I hope you have a very good weekend, man. For those that celebrate Easter weekend, Palm Friday is tomorrow. Brother will be taking some much needed time off to relax, recharge, and just enjoy life. But been a busy day. Been a busy day in the world of sports. Sweet 16 starts tonight. For those that are still watching the college basketball game, tipped off around 7:30-ish my time. So I will be tuning into that after the show. Also, it is opening day for baseball. Now, for my baseball fans out there, I am sorry. I'm not fluent in the baseball goings on. So you will hear very, 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 very little. But if you want to discuss it, hey man, I'm more than open to have a conversation as much as I can with that. But yeah, opening day for baseball is today. I watched the game earlier. Opening day is still a thing. I just can't sit through 162 games plus the playoffs. But anyway, speaking of playoffs, we are here to discuss the NBA playoffs, which is getting ready to start within about 2.5 weeks. We'll be starting the playoffs, and I want to kind of take a look at where teams are now, where teams could possibly end up, and look ahead to some of the possible matchups that we may see in the first round of the playoffs. It's subject to change. It's subject to change. Some things are kind of set in stone. Let me, be gracious as I always said. How you doing, Dr. Nikki? How you doing, Miss Merv? Shout out to the phone in the chat. But yeah, matter of fact, let me go ahead and put that up on the screen so we can kind of go through it. Let me know if y'all can see. Let me take myself out of there. Make this just a tad bit bigger so we can kind of get through this. All right. Like I said, playoffs, the play-in tournament starts on the 16th through the 19th. For those who don't understand the format of the NBA playoffs, top 6 teams in the conference are locked in, guaranteed a playoff position, and teams 7 through 10 participate in what we call the play-in tournament. You'll have the two bottom seeds playing for a chance to be the 8th seed. Then you'll have teams 7 and 8 playing for the 7th seed. Winner of the 7-8 game gets in as the 7th seed. Loser gets one more opportunity. They play the winner of the 9-10 matchup. Winner of that is the 8th seed. And then the playoffs will officially start on the 20th. So that's kind of like the format for those who don't understand, who are not following it like that and don't understand how the play-in tournament works. Teams, like I said, teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 have to play in into the playoffs. Top 6 get in. And when you kind of look at the standings as it kind of is right now, it is some, especially in the Western Conference, it is some opportunities for teams to kind of move up. It is a chance for teams to kind of move down. We're down to about the final 10 or 11 games of the season, depending on who your team is. And some of these matchups, like I said, look very intriguing. If the playoffs were to start today, the playoffs would kind of look like. Of course, you have right now Denver sitting there with the number 1 seed, but now by no means is the number 1 seed locked up in the Western Conference. You also have Oklahoma City in the running for. You also have the Minnesota Timberwolves lurking right there. The tiebreakers are kind of deciding that right now, but Denver, I think, is in my opinion, they get in as a 1, 2, or 3 seed. I think if they get in as a 1, 2, or 3 seed, I don't think Denver's going to have any problems. But right now, they're kind of locked in at the number 1 seed. If the playoffs were to start today, over in the Eastern Conference, you had the Boston Celtics. That is not up for the debate. Boston has already sold up home court advantage right now in the Eastern Conference, about a game or two from sewing it up through the playoffs entirely. And Boston has been a menace at home. I'm gonna spend more time talking about the West Conference. I think the Western Conference is a little bit more top heavy, whereas you look at the Eastern Conference. Once you get past like maybe the fifth seed, it's kind of a toss up on the other teams on how well they may do. But like I said, right now Denver is the number one seed, and with them being the number one seed, they'll play the eighth seed. Right now, the eighth seed, and we talked about this a little while ago. You got Lakers that currently at the 9 seed. You got Golden State Warriors currently at the 10 seed. I will say this about both of those teams. I kind of break those down. Lakers, you had comments by LeBron James earlier this week talking about he's more concerned about getting into the playoffs healthy, more so than trying to win these games coming down the stretch. Because the Lakers, like I said, the Western Conference is kind of tightly bunched in certain spots. The Lakers have an opportunity if things kind of break their way. The 6th seed kind of falls off to the wayside a little bit. Lakers could, if get on a hot streak, could get in as the 6th seed. But right now, as it stands, they're in as the 9th seed. I think the Lakers going to end up as one of those teams in the play-in tournament. And I look at the Lakers squad. This is not a team that is not built. This team is not built for the regular season. It's not a team that's going to go out there and chase down the number one seed. They're not that kind of a squad. This team is more or less built for a playoff run. You saw that last season. Got in the play-in tournament last season. Made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals where they were swept. It hurt my soul to say that. Where they were swept by the Denver Nuggets in a very competitive series, but still, nonetheless, they were swept. But I look at the Lakers team. Hey, I'm very confident of them not only getting into the play-in tournament, being one or the 2 teams that gets in maybe as the 7th seed or the 8th seed. They still have an outside chance to sneak in as the 6th seed because Dallas is kind of teeter in that position as a 6 or a 7 seed. Like I said, you're only talking about a 3-game margin separates the 6 from the 9. So those teams have an opportunity to leapfrog the Mavericks, and we might be having a completely different conversation come playoff time. But like I said, as it stands now, I think the Lakers will be okay even in this matchup. Now, Golden State is one of those teams, much like the Lakers, that is built for a playoff run. Golden State had a very rough start to the season. I think they've kind of turned it around. The question mark you got to have with the Golden State Warriors has age finally caught up. Can Steph carry this team like he did last season into the playoffs? And Draymond Green, once again suspended, 4th suspension this year. Is Draymond Green going to be able to hold himself together long enough for this team to possibly get into the playoffs? Right now, they're currently in the 10 spot, a game above the Houston Rockets, who if you break it down over the last couple of weeks, has been one of the hottest teams in the league. Houston is a very dangerous team right now. They're on the outside looking in, but way Golden State is kind of going. Can Steph carry them the last 10 games of the season? I think Steph is going to do enough for them to remain in the play-in tournament, but it's going to be a struggle because Klay Thompson has been kind of hit or miss. I know he's been moved to the bench, but he's been kind of hit or miss. Steph is doing Steph things, and I'm not sure what I'm going to get from Draymond. I'm not sure which Draymond I'm going to get come playoff time. I just don't know, and it kind of makes me not want to put money on Golden State getting into the play-in tournament and getting into the playoffs because I don't know what I'm getting from Draymond. I mean, like the latest one, Patty Mills grabbing him around the neck, like, come on, dude, come on. I understand that it's part of your game, the fire and intensity, and you're the heart and soul of the Golden State Warriors. But man, you're at this point of the season, with all that he's been through, self-inflicted. I'm not making excuses for Draymond. Self-inflicted. All he's been through this season, and to be making boneheaded plays and getting ejected and drawing this, you already have a stigma, dude. Like, why make the microscope even bigger? I'm not sure if Draymond makes it through the end of the season without another incident. At this point, I don't know what Draymond I'm getting from night to night. And for Golden State Warriors fans, it's got to be a cause of concern because Draymond is so important to what you do, not only offensively, but he's very important to what you do defensively. So, Golden State, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But right now, as it stands, you got Lakers playing the Warriors for a chance to possibly be the 8th seed. Um, Now we scroll down and we look at some of the matchups on the Eastern Conference side. You got Bulls and Hawks. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about either one of these teams. I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't care which one gets in because I don't think either one of these teams, if they get into the playoffs, is going to be prepared for a sweep. Chicago is not a team to take any of the top two in either in that conference past maybe 5 games. You might. I don't see Boston struggling with it. Chicago, I damn sure don't see them struggling with Atlanta, especially with Trae Young being out hurt. Atlanta is not the team they were about 3 seasons ago. I'm not sure what they're doing down there. As far as like putting a team together, do you build around Trae Young? Do they had an opportunity? DeJounte Murray was very much talked about during the trade season as possibly being moved. They held on to him. I'm not sure what I'm getting from Atlanta. No Trae Young. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I think whoever wins that and continues on in the play-in tournaments is just setting themselves up if they get in. I'm just going to say that if they get in to be swept very unceremoniously in the first round. So kudos if you're a Hawks fan or you're a Bulls fan, is you upset. I mean, you've been watching your team all year. Both of these teams are below 500 in a very weak Eastern Conference. Not much to really break down there. As we kind of scroll down here, you got currently the 4 or 5 matchup, which I think is very intriguing when you look at both conferences. You got the Clippers for earlier the season. We're looking at probably top contender to the Denver Nuggets, have kind of slid back. I'm not sure what's going on with the Clippers, but they're still firmly in a position, still have opportunity if things kind of break right to move up in the standings. They're not completely out of, but I like this matchup against the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have been very, very under the radar. Zion Williamson. We talked about this a while ago. It was reported he's lost about 25 pounds since December. It's finally getting in shape and it's finally healthy. Unfortunately, you got the injury with Brandon Ingram, but I still like this matchup. I still like the matchup. I like the matchup of Zion against the front line against the Clippers. I think he has an advantage there. But if you got a healthy Paul George and you got a healthy Kawhi and a very focused and motivated Kawhi, it's going to be a struggle. But I think it's probably one of the best matchups you're going to probably see in the first round if the standings stay as they are now. If I had to put money on it, I would probably, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, see how they finish out the season. But I'm gonna pick Clippers. I'm gonna pick Clippers in this one, but I think this is one of those series is going to be about a 6, maybe 7 game series. New Orleans has been playing very good basketball, especially over the last month and a half of the season. Like I said, Zion Williamson is looking good. His team is looking good. The injury to Brandon Ingram kind of puts a damper on what they've been able to accomplish in the second half of the season. But they deserve to be in the 5 spot right now, and this is a very intriguing matchup as we look forward to the playoffs. Which for those who are catching this on the replay or coming in late, playoffs start on the 16th of April. So we're talking about a little over 2.5 weeks before the playoffs start. But I like the matchup. Clippers, Pelicans. Circle that on your to watch list. If this remains as it is now, I like this matchup. When we look over at the Eastern Conference, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. And I'm gonna say this about the Orlando Magic. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of shocked that Orlando has played as well as they have played this year. Shout out to the coaching staff and this young team coming along. And this is my opinion. I was watching Orlando earlier in the season. I thought there was going to be a dark horse. I thought they was going to probably get in, definitely into the play-in tournament. But for them to be in the 5 spot at this point of the season, it says a lot about what they're trying to do down there in Orlando. You have an all-star in Banchero. Build around him. I just think, like I said, the playoffs started today. This will be the matchup. I just think Cleveland has too many options and too much experience to lose to this young Orlando team. But I could be wrong. But Orlando, hey, keep your eye on Orlando. You see how they kind of finish out the season. Do they finish strong? Do they kind of limp to the end? Do the youth of the team catch up to them, because this is money time? But I think Orlando's about a year, maybe two, maybe at least a year ahead of schedule. I don't think anybody, if you picked them, if they weren't already a Magic fan, had them being in this position, especially at this point of the season, winning record. Have a very good squad down there, very young squad that is coming together. Reminds me of Cleveland about 2 years ago when those young pieces kind of came together. I think Orlando's maybe one perimeter piece away from truly competing in the Eastern Conference. I think this is they got one good perimeter player, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a superstar, but I think they can get one good perimeter player, the guy that can give them 20-25 a night for the one or the two. I think we'll be having a different conversation about Orlando next year, but this season, with this matchup, I'm gonna pick Cleveland. I think Cleveland it has too much experience, and I think they know how to take care of teams lesser than. I don't have confidence in Cleveland going forward, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to the playoffs. Yes, Doctor, finally. All right, as we kind of scroll down, we're looking at the 3 and 6 matchups. OKC, I had this conversation a week when we saw them. They were in first place, still have an opportunity to get the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Have had a couple of setbacks, and I didn't realize how, we were talking about Orlando just now. I didn't realize how young OKC is as far as their starting five. The average age is 22. I think it was like 22.8. I saw a graphic where they were comparing the age of the Oklahoma City Thunder to North Carolina Tar Heels squad in college, and roughly similar age. OKC is going to be a problem. OKC, I don't think they're going to be concerned about seeding. I look at them a little bit, even though they're the number 3 seed. Like I said, it's all semantic, but them and the Timberwolves have similar records, maybe a half game ahead of each other, whatever. OKC is scary because they have a guy, SGA. If you haven't watched Oklahoma City, if you haven't been watching SGA, especially over the last 3 seasons, you're missing out. You're missing out. I think, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of them ones. It's one of them ones. And I think, real NBA fans are going to be looking to him to see, okay, now, you're not backing into the playoffs. You're not, unexpected. People see you coming. What are you going to do? Oklahoma City has been playing well all year. One of the best offensive teams, one of the best defensive teams, one of the best perimeter shooting teams. Will that youth catch up to them? Because you're looking at it, playoffs, if they started now against the Dallas Mavericks, it's pretty much Luka and Kyrie. With Dallas, I ain't gonna lie to you. Depending on the matchup, I might have Dallas getting out, but I don't like the matchup with OKC for Dallas. Luka is a hell of a player. Kyrie is a hell of a player. I like some of the pieces they were able to acquire this season to complement those two guys. Well, but can Luka and Kyrie carry them over a very, very talented Oklahoma City team? I would have more confidence in the Mavericks beating a Timberwolves team than I would OKC team. I just think OKC, the way Shea plays with the mentality, Chet Holmgren, very surprised by his performance this year. I'm just gonna say this: if it wasn't for Wemby, Chet would be Rookie of the Year, and you're gonna have some people that are gonna vote for Chet. He's gonna get some first place votes. It's not gonna be unanimous Wemby, but Chet Holmgren, I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised, coming off the injury last year, missed all of last year, coming into this year and being a very big contributor to what they do in Oklahoma City on the offensive and defensive end. I've been thoroughly surprised. But I don't think a lot of people have been watching OKC. Oklahoma City is not, for the average fan, not must see TV because Oklahoma City hasn't been a sexy quote unquote market for TV games since they lost Westbrook and since they lost KD and that crew. But if you haven't been watching OKC, go check them out. You go on YouTube, catch some highlights because this is a very, look up the stats. This is a very, very good team. Just this time last week, they were the number one seed out in the Western Conference. They're legit. They're for real. This is not a flash in the pan. And when you have a dog like SGA, who Shaq on a recent episode of Inside the NBA has called his MVP, wouldn't be mine. I think Joker has kind of locked that up on having another MVP caliber season. But I think SGA has to get serious consideration for being in that conversation. This is a hell of a team out there in Oklahoma City. Check them out. But if I had to pick right now, I'm taking OKC. I ain't gonna lie to you. Now, Knicks, Pacers, very good matchup in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Brunson, in my opinion, has to, I don't think he's going to win MVP, but I think you need to really look at Jalen Brunson, especially with the injuries that they've battled in New York to some of their key players. Trading RJ Barrett in the middle of the season at the trade deadline, for him to be in the number 3 spot and not that far off for possibly being in the number 2 spot in the East Conference says a lot. Jalen Brunson is one of the ones that I think he should get some MVP votes. Not first place, I ain't gonna say that, but I think he has to get some MVP votes based on the season that he has had. I don't think anybody outside of himself and his family members saw this level of play in him coming from Dallas. Coming from Dallas, I thought he was going to be a very good player once he left Dallas, but Jalen Brunson is one of them ones. But when you look at the matchup, you got a point guard on the other side who's also elevated his game. First All-Star appearance this season. Tyrese Halliburton, very good point guard, is able to score, play pretty good defense, is able to find the open man, one of the top assist guys in the league. And if the Pacers can kind of put it together, I've seen them at different points of the season look like one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and other points of the season, they just kind of look like they're in the middle of the pack when we're talking about the Eastern Conference. I think, they had a kind of a hot start, excuse me, kind of cooled off in the second half of the season, but still right there in the number 6 spot. I just can't, they're just too inconsistent for me. I like the pieces that they have. I like, Halliburton. I like the fact you got Miles Turner, a big who can, play defense, one of the top shot blockers, but also can, put the ball in the bucket on the other end, and it has 3-point range. But I think this is, stylistically, I think this is a very bad matchup for the Pacers. I think if the Pacers were to play the Milwaukee Bucks, who they've beaten several times this season, I think you would have a much better argument for the Pacers possibly upsetting one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference. But I don't think they get by the Knicks. Like I said, the Knicks have been battling injuries. Guys are starting to come back from those injuries. But I just don't think, if this matchup is a good one for the Pacers. Like I said, if they were playing the Bucks, considering the times I've seen them play the Bucks this season, that might be one of them series that go 6 or 7. I think, like I said, the playoffs start today. I would have the Knicks probably in 5. What's going on, Triggs? Moving on. Of course, you have. We talked about the 9 and 10 seeds earlier. Also, you got the 7 and 8 seeds now. Like I said, for those coming in, how the play-in tournament works. The 7 and 8. They play for the right to be the 7th seed going into the playoffs. So right now, we're looking at the Western Conference. You have Phoenix, who still has an outside chance to get into that number 6 spot, possibly number 5, if things kind of break their rate. And you have the Sacramento Kings, who I am thoroughly surprised, considering how the season kind of started for them, have kind of clawed their way back, been under the radar. I do think they've taken a step back this year, considering that they were, I want to say, the number 3 seed last season, but for them to be right here in the number 8 spot, with an opportunity if they win, get in as the 7th seed. Like I said, winner of the 7-8 game is the 7th seed. The loser goes on to play for the 8th seed spot. Phoenix is you got to kind of look at Phoenix, considering, with the trade of Bradley Beal. Now I do know you had injuries, you had guys out, but I got to kind of look at Phoenix as a disappointment. Considering, Beal was hurt for stretches of the season, and other guys have missed time. I think a lot of people coming into this season, when they made the trade for Bradley Beal, were looking at the Phoenix Suns as possibly being the favorite out west alongside the Denver Nuggets, but it just has not happened. And this team just having the same issues that they had last season. This is not a very good defensive team, and I think when you look at the best teams in the Western Conference, all of those teams play pretty good defense. All of those teams play pretty good defense, with the exception of probably Dallas, who they have an opportunity to bump out of the 6th spot and get in there, and get an opportunity. Can you imagine that matchup? Phoenix gets OKC. Kevin Durant returns to OKC. Oh man, I mean, the storylines, and I know the NBA would love that. In some form or fashion, they would love to have that storyline and that narrative going. But Phoenix to me has been a disappointment. Now, in a 1-game situation, do I think they can beat Sacramento? Yes, I do think they can, but I don't have confidence. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't have confidence in neither one of these teams, if they get into the playoffs, making a deep run like they did last season, getting into the conference semifinals. I just don't see it. Sacramento has been too inconsistent. De'Aaron Fox, to me, and this is to me, has kind of taken a step back this season. Domantas Sabonis has, played at a if he was on a much high profile team, you might be having talks about him, being in that conversation, getting a couple of MVP votes. I mean, he's had one of those kind of seasons. I think a lot of people have, much like they did last year, slept on Sacramento. Still a dangerous team, because when they get hot, they can get hot. But I don't have confidence in either one of these teams being built, just because the simple fact they don't play top tier defense. When you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, when you look at the Denver Nuggets, even the Clippers, even OKC, they play much better defense than both of these teams. And that's, how you doing, Miss VS? At the satellite, yeah, we good over here. I'm chilling. I'm on vacation from the other spot. I'm on vacation. I've earned it, but don't get it messed up. Don't get it messed up. Now we look over at the Eastern Conference. You got the Miami Heat currently in the 7th spot, and the Philadelphia 76ers in the 8th spot. Now, it's reports been coming out of Philadelphia that Joel Embiid is going to try to make it back for the end of this regular season. I've been a strong opponent of him coming back. I said, hey, this is one of those times you got to kind of hold back your superstar player. If he comes back, what happens? I mean, this is not a situation where he comes back, and it's not like he's got like 30 games left in the season to get back in the game shape. We're talking about the final 10 games of the season. He's still talking about coming back. From Philadelphia, I keep him on the sidelines now. They have an opportunity. If this was the matchup for the play-in, they have an opportunity against a Miami team who has struggled to score this year. Still one of the best defensive teams in the Eastern Conference, but it's a team that has some struggles. But when you have a Jimmy Butler, who you have a dog that can go out there and carry a team, and he's done it twice, carry the team to an NBA Finals. I'm more inclined to lean towards the Miami Heat winning this possible matchup. I think, like I said, Philadelphia, don't let Embiid come back and run the potential of him getting hurt even worse. Let him sit. Take your chances with the squad that you have. I do think Philadelphia, even if they lose this game against Miami, I think Philadelphia has enough in the tank, enough players and enough talent to beat Chicago or beat Atlanta, for that final spot. Now, do I think either one of those teams you know, the 76ers end up as the 8th seed. I don't give them a shot. I ain't gonna be honest with you. I don't give them a shot against Boston. But if Miami ends up as the 8th seed, for instance, if they lose against the 76ers but beat Chicago or Atlanta, it might get a little uncomfortable in Boston. It might get a little uncomfortable in Boston. And the reason why I say that, Jason Tatum, this is your year to show improve and show that you are ready to take the mantle of face of the NBA. But something about when y'all play the Miami Heat, when it's money on the line, you guys and especially Tatum comes up a little small. I mean, this team beat you in the East Conference Finals last year. I'm not looking past I mean, that matchup kind of works. You know, they got some about them in Boston. I just got a feeling, but I think Miami's going to take care of business. Go ahead, slide into that number 7 spot, and you know, seven spot gives them a rematch of last year first round upset against the Milwaukee Bucks, who, you know, all the hoopla about bringing Dame Lillard over. You know, a lot of people had Milwaukee possibly being the best team, not only in the Eastern Conference, but possibly being the best team in the NBA coming to the season. Has not performed to expectations. Not that they've had a bad year record-wise, you know, currently sitting there a little comfortably in the number 2 spot in the Eastern Conference, but this team has not. I mean, when you look at the expectations, you know, you bring over Dame Lillard, you think you got 2 superstar players, and when I'm, you know, these are true superstar players when we're talking about Dame, when we're talking about Giannis. You give up Drew Holiday, you give up that defensive mentality, and it's kind of showed this year with Milwaukee. They're kind of all over the place. Some games they'll lock in, some games they won't. Offense can be kind of it can be kind of touch and go. I know they lost the game recently against the Lakers, double overtime. You know, without LeBron, you know, those are games. You know, and I love my Lakers, but if you're Milwaukee and your guys are healthy and LeBron is not playing, that's the game you're supposed to put them away. You was up 19 and they clawed their way back. That's been kind of the theme with a lot of losses with Milwaukee. They'll get up on teams and teams will walk them down. So I'm not overly confident. I do think Milwaukee gets out of the first round. Then we'll have to look at possible matchups after that. But I'm not, you know, and Milwaukee was my pick at the beginning of the year. I'm not confident in what I'm seeing throughout the course of the season. Like I said, they're still playing winning basketball, but it ain't, you know, playoff winning basketball to me. Considering Milwaukee traditionally, since Giannis has been one of the better defensive teams in the league, it's just not translated this year. And I don't want to put the blame on Dame, but you know, you change coaches, you bring in Doc Rivers, and you're still having some of the same issues. You're still having some of the same issues that you were having with the former coach. You change coaches. At this point, you got to put the blame on the players for going out there. I mean, defense is about effort. Defense is about effort. Yeah, you can have a good scheme and work on rotations and all that, but defense is about effort. Defense is about effort, and that's, you know, kind of separates excuse me, the good teams from the bad teams. You know, you saw it with Boston last year. They was all offense, you know, and the defense took a step back from years prior. This year, you see Boston with a renewed focus on the defensive end, and it just showed in their record. And Milwaukee, I don't know what it is. I mean, you brought back Lopez. You don't know if Middleton is going to be available from night to night. He hasn't, you know, he's injury prone, and I'm surprised they didn't try to move off of him when they had the opportunity. I just don't like what I'm seeing from Milwaukee. I mean, but when you have Giannis, you have Dame. I mean, you have a chance to beat anybody in the league, but just can you stop somebody? I mean, I think that's the question I would have for Bucks fans. Can your team stop somebody? Can they get a defensive stop? Well, for you, let a Lakers team without LeBron walk you down from 19 in the fourth quarter, like, nah, you something going on. And like I said, I ain't gonna put it all on coach, because, you know, I saw this early in the season, you know, in games like such I was talking about with the Indiana Pacers. They walk them down. Like, the defense is not what it used to be. But moving on to the Western Conference before we kind of close out the show. right now you got Minnesota Timberwolves. Surprisingly, still have an opportunity to be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. People thought this team was going to fall off the map when Cat got hurt. But you got Anthony Edwards, who's, in my opinion, depending on how this season kind of go, how it ends up, if Minnesota makes a deep run and Jason Tatum comes up small, you've already got Michael Jordan, saying Anthony Edwards remind him of him when he was at that age. Anthony Edwards is a dog. He's one of them ones. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Timberwolves. Like I said, losing Cat, a lot of people thought they were going to fall off, but they're still in a position to still get the number 1 seed out there in the Western Conference. And don't look, this is not the Timberwolves team from last year. This is not that same Timberwolves team from last year. I think they have a better understanding of what guys are supposed to be doing, and guys are playing their roles, responsibly. Gobert is still Gobert in the middle. A full season of Mike Conley at the point guard position has really kind of settled things down for this team. Minnesota's going to be a tough out. I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough out. I don't care who they play in the first round. I'm picking Timberwolves. And it's a potential they could possibly play the Phoenix Suns, but Phoenix Suns don't play defense, and Ant is one of them ones. But yeah, I mean, that's what the playoffs kind of looking like. Like I said, playoffs start on the 16th. I'm about to go chill out, watch me some Sweet 16 basketball, chill out this weekend. Hope y'all have a safe weekend. Next week, we will be doing a show, kind of doing like a NFL draft preview, kind of look at some of the team needs for each team. And then we'll do another show at another time right before the draft, where I kind of do my own mock draft and kind of try to predict the first round of the draft. But, we will be doing that, of course, as we get into, close to the playoffs. We'll be, diving in heavy to that. So stay tuned for that. For you baseball fans, hey, I'm sorry. It's opening day. That's about the only thing I got excited for. Baseball, y'all can catch me on opening day. You can catch me around maybe the All-Star break, and you can catch me around playoff time. Pennant, when the pennant race is heating up, you can catch me around then. Other than that, May, June, don't be looking for me. Don't be looking for me. I ain't doing no content because other than a couple players, couple teams, I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't sit here and have one of them deep dive, educated conversations about baseball like I could football or basketball. Sorry, not sorry. But anyway, let me get my behind up out of here. Hope everybody has it. Like I said, have a good weekend, Easter weekend, man. Chill, hang out with the family, relax as much as you can. I'm still on vacation. I'm still on vacation, but don't worry. The bags stay packed. But anyway, let me get out of here. End you off with the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.
Loving you is all